Buildings shake as a major earthquake strikes the Philippines, with tremors being felt as far away as Manila. Former Sri Lanka President Gotabaya Rajapaksa can stay in Singapore till next month after his visa is extended. And two studies show an animal market in Wuhan was indeed the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. Good evening. You're watching The Big Story with me, Haryanto Diman. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you will not miss an episode. A powerful 7.0 magnitude earthquake hit the Philippines just before 9 this morning, with its epicenter in the northern province of Abra. Pictures show noticeable shaking as people woke up to their homes swaying and furniture moving. Now, the quake struck at a shallow depth of 17 kilometers, which explains why tremors were felt far and wide, even all the way in Manila. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. gave a nationwide address on the situation.
We will continue to provide information as it comes in. As you can imagine, this situation continues to develop. And it will do so for the next few days. But I think that everything that can be done has been done. We have even anticipated the needs of those who have become victims of this very strong earthquake.
In the northern areas, many buildings and roads are damaged, power lines are down, and multiple landslides have occurred. There are also reports of injuries and several deaths. Our Philippines correspondent, who's in Manila, describes the moment the earthquake struck.
The earthquake happened at 8:43 a.m. I was still in bed. My shift doesn't start till 2 p.m. So I felt my bed was shaking violently, and it felt like somebody was trying to wake me up by shaking me hard. I also heard my phone, the emergency alarm on my phone blaring. So first thing I did was, of course, grab my phone and check what was happening. The first message I saw was a Facebook message from my son, who works at a high-rise building at a financial district near Manila. And he said he felt the building shaking. And so I checked my phone, checked social media, checked my messages to see what else was happening. And then I saw people posting on Facebook and on Twitter that they were evacuating their building. And then later I heard President Ferdinand Marcos telling reporters that he felt it himself. He saw the chandelier at his office. He heard clinking sounds from the chandelier at his office. And he said that was a clear sign that there was an earthquake. The earthquake was felt here in Manila, which was 300 kilometers away from the actual epicenter, which was in a town in a mountainous province called Abra. So the damage was most severe there in Abra, which is a province in the northern part of the main island of Luzon, which is essentially in northern Philippines. The region includes Mr. Marcos's own hometown, home province of Ilocos Norte. The location is also noteworthy that the northern areas in the Philippines was also the site of a deadly earthquake in 1990, where over 1,600 were killed because a school and a hotel collapsed. But this time around, the casualty count we are receiving right now may not be as massive or as severe as the 1990 earthquake. It's also worth noting that one of the cities affected was Vigan, which has a location that is considered a UNESCO heritage site because of its colonial era historic churches. There was a report that a centuries-old bell tower of one of the churches there collapsed. So that's a big loss in terms of heritage, history, and culture.
Will Sri Lanka's former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa be heading home soon, and when? Now, 2 weeks after fleeing his country, he is believed to still be in Singapore. Sri Lanka's cabinet spokesman telling reporters yesterday that Mr. Rajapaksa was expected to return home. Here in Singapore, Mr. Rajapaksa was issued a 14-day visit pass back on July 14th, now when he arrived at Changi Airport on a Saudi flight from the Maldives. That has now been extended, and ST understands that his new 14-day visa will expire on August 11th. Mr. Rajapaksa initially stayed at the hotel in the city centre, but is believed to have moved to a private residence. He has kept a low profile since he arrived and has not been seen in public. The Straits Times' Malaysia Bureau Chief has confirmed in an exclusive that Malaysia's Finance Minister Zafrul Aziz will be appointed Treasurer of Selangor Barisan Nasional on July 31st. According to sources, Mr. Zafrul has also gained the blessings of most of UMNO'S top brass to contest in the state for the upcoming general election. But whether he will contest a state or parliamentary seat will be decided later. Selangor has been a stronghold for the Pakatan Harapan coalition for over 10 years. For more, I'm now joined by our Malaysia Bureau Chief, Shannon Teoh. Shannon, it seems Mr. Zafrul has been chosen as UMNO'S poster boy for Selangor. And although he has an impressive professional resume, as well as 3 years of experience as a cabinet minister, what can one man do to wrest Selangor away from Pakatan Harapan?
Well, just one man, realistically, not much, but it's about a confluence of factors, right? If you look back to 2018, what could one man, Tun Mahathir, do? Not much either, but everything was coming together at that point. There was a lot of disenchantment with the Najib-led UMNO government at that time, but it just needed a little push to cross the line, and in that case, it was having a candidate for Prime Minister that people could get behind. In this case, for Selangor, I don't know if people in Selangor are, in that sense, ready to forgive UMNO, you know? I mean, they haven't voted for UMNO for 3 consecutive elections. But we talk about how Pakatan Harapan is kind of shaky right now, right? It hasn't done well in recent state elections. There's still question marks about its leadership. It's undergoing a generational change, and there are question marks about whether Pakatan Harapan has actually managed to govern well as it succeeded in rolling out its manifesto in the 22 months that it was in power, and even in the state, it's been there for 14 years. Are people really very happy with Pakatan Harapan there? So now that's the question. If there are confluence of factors coming together and unhappiness with Pakatan Harapan, you know, a resurgence of confidence in UMNO, then the last part of the equation is, well, who leads UMNO in Selangor? Who is your candidate to bring this state to the next level? Yeah, they've been missing that for the past 2 elections. Selangor UMNO and Selangor Barisan Nasional really hasn't had a personality that can energize the ground. So Zafrul might be that guy.
Talking about generational change, Shannon, is the appointment of a younger candidate like 49-year-old Mr. Zafrul all part of UMNO's plans to refresh its image as Malaysia's grand old party?
I think if you look at UMNO and you look at their leadership lineup right now, most of the top guys are in their 60s, right? If you compare that with other parties, yes, Anwar Ibrahim is still around and so on and so forth. But if you look at the second liners, you know, PKR just elected Rafizi Ramli. He's in his 40s as deputy president. DAP just had an entire generational shift, right? A lot of leaders in their 30s are now in the central leadership. Even before this shift, we knew people like Tony Pua in his 40s. Guan Eng is in his 50s. He's not in his 60s yet, I believe. Anthony Loke, the new Secretary General now, also in his late 40s. So UMNO is missing kind of that layer of leaders. People that, if I voted for UMNO now, I know that they have, you know, a continuity, right? A second liner. Right now, the only second liner that we really hear about all the time is Khairi Jamaluddin, you know, the health minister. And, you know, people say that he is someone that can be prime minister one day. But who else, right? If it's not Khairi, then who else? And this question is often asked to Pakatan Harapan, to opposition coalitions. oh, if it's not Anwar Ibrahim, then who's next, right? And they don't really have a who's next. I think for UMNO, it's important that because they are the dominant party, they've been around for so long, to have more hope than just, oh, we're going to wait for Khairi to become prime minister, which may or may not happen. So having Zafrul around, there are other names as well, but they need to step up their game as well. And maybe the internal competition with someone like Zafrul coming in, is well respected. He has a good professional resume as an ex-banker at the top levels. That could cause UMNO to step up their game and also, put some challenge to the likes of DAP, PKR to also have better equipped policymakers in their parties as well.
Shannon, thank you for the perspectives. Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teoh in Kuala Lumpur. Iris Koh, the founder of anti-vaccine group Healing the Divide, now faces 2 more charges on top of the 2 handed earlier. Both new charges are for allegedly making false representations to the Health Ministry over COVID-19 vaccinations. Her co-conspirators, GP Gibson Kwa, was slapped with 9 more charges, while his then-assistant, Thomas Chua, was handed 6 more charges. All 3 cases have been adjourned to September 7th. Meanwhile, despite high inflation and volatile markets, Singapore's Sovereign Wealth Fund, GIC, posted an annualized 20-year real rate of return of 4.2% for the financial year just ended. But it says future returns are likely to be low due to the challenging environment. GIC's focus is to generate a return so that the government has resources for its budget. The Orchard Bel Air condominium in Orchard Boulevard is up for collective sale with a public tender at a guide price of $587.5 million. If successful, most owners stand to get about $8.1 million each, while the penthouse owner could pocket at least $16.3 million. The tender will close at 3 p.m. on September 6. And according to 2 new studies, the Huanan Live Animal Market in Wuhan was the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. The co-author of both papers was previously open to the idea that the virus was the result of a lab leak. But he now says that the new findings move him, quote, to the point where now I also think it's just not plausible that the virus was introduced any other way than through the wildlife trade at the Wuhan market. Determining COVID-19's origin is viewed as vital to averting the next pandemic and saving millions of lives. Those are our top stories today. Now don't forget to subscribe to us by hitting the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. See you tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.